What is up, everybody? Today I'm back to another team builder for week 6 of the SPL, and I want to say if we win one more match, we should be locked in for playoffs. So in this match, we're going to go up against a team that has a super good matchup against me, and that's going to be Sierra and the Toronto Maple Muse. Joining me on the mic is a little buddy of mine. Maybe you guys have heard of him. It's Standard VR. I've been watching every one of their videos every single day. Say a couple words. Uh, how's it going?
You It's going well, it's going well. It's been a lot of fun uploading content daily. I'm
Mhm.
actually keeping up with it better than I thought I would be because I tend to kind of hyperfixate on things and then just be like, I'm done with that."
But you've
But
been
we've been
killing it.
going
Yeah.
2 weeks,
2
something like
weeks,
that?
yeah, and then, like, you've been uploading, like, analysis content for the SPL. Maybe you guys have seen some of that content. There's gonna be a link to their channel in the description of this video. You guys wanna check out their content as well. As you guys have seen, they've been helping me, like, fine-tune all of the teams I've been making for the SPL, and honestly, we've been, like, slaying it. There was a very small window where we were actually, the #1 team in the league. There was a really small window where we were the #1 team in the league, while we were waiting for, like, one of the people, I think it was Joey, to finish one of their matches. So it's cool that, like, all our work's, like, paying off. This week, though, we go up against Sierra, and, me and you talked about it a little bit before, but I think
Mhm.
her team has an amazing matchup into mine. Notably, she has, like, a Follow Me Ogre Palm, which is problematic. Roaring Moon with that booster energy, getting that speed boost can be really problematic. I know they're testing Roaring Moon in singles right now, because that moun's cracked. Psy Spam's good into my team. Like, I obviously am built around Terrakion. Gallade, I think, is the main mon that shuts out my whole team. If you go Fairy Terra Gallade, I can't break it with Drago. You have a decent matchup in a Jirachi. You hard check Terrakion. You have Wide Guard. You have Trick Room. You have all the sorts of tech that come with Gallade. So I'm hoping that they don't bring Gallade. Is there any mons that stick out to you that might be problematic for their team against mine?
I don't like a speed booster Roaring Moon and a
Yeah,
Regieleki, just things that
it's
even if, like, we get that Tailwind up, all it takes is, like, an Electro Web, and we're right back to being slower than, like, a lot of our team.
right. And the fact is, like, a lot of those mons, like, ugh, like, to Scarf Draco, like, Scarf Draco doesn't even catch Regieleki. So it's like, it's going to be
No.
ridiculous. So this is going to be pretty hard. We're going back to basics. We've given ourselves a little bit of a goal for week 6. Our goals here are don't lose to Scarf Chiyu. I think Scarf Chiyu can kind of tear up my team. Great damage into Jirachi and Weavile.
Mhm.
Terrakion, yeah, it could live. Like, Magmortar Gastron can be fine. But, like, all the tech mons, like, Whimsicott, Drago, Jirachi, Weavile, that would just tear up our team with the Heat Wave. So, option number 1 is don't lose to Scarf Chiyu. Option number 2 is don't lose to Glade. It has TR, it has Wide Guard, it has Sharpness to boost the power of, like, Psycho Cut, Sacred Sword, all moves that are just, like, absolutely amazing into, like, Terrakion and the rest of our team. So I think, like, not losing to Glade is probably a pretty good idea. Then a third thing is going to be correctly speed creep Regieleki. So I want to be respectful of, like, Sash Regieleki. I think that's very, very common on this team. So I want to not put myself in situations where they can, like, wear Regieleki next to, like, Specs GU and go for, like, a fat Electro Web, break Sash, lower both my speed, and roll. I might want to put Covert Cloak on some of my mons or something, or Clear Amulet, just to make it so that's not a possibility. And then the last thing that the last couple things I have here are forcing Terrace with Reggie Drago early to punish with the correct Pokemon in the back. So if I lead with something like Reggie Drago, that should be forcing my opponent to flip on those Steel Terras, flip on those Fairy Terras. Once we can waste their Terra, we can lose whatever that slot is and then just punish them with the back. So that's where bringing in the Jirachi and stuff like that, I think, is going to be pretty important. And bringing in the Terrakion if we can force Steel Terras. Steel Terra Roaring Moon is probably pretty good against our team. So stuff like that is pretty important. That being said, the last thing that I just have here is Roaring Moon. You can never count out Roaring Moon. I've noted in watching Sarah's games for myself, I've noted that she opts to go with Dragon Dance Roaring Moon instead of Tailwind Roaring Moon, which
Mhm.
is really scary, but at the same time, I'd actually rather fight against Dragon Dance Roaring Moon because, like, you can just, like, single target that guy down or AoE him down. Versus Tailwind Roaring Moon, that's, like, enabling its teammate. It's giving its teammate, like, a max airstream boost. And if I can deal with a Roaring Moon, I think I'll be fine. Pokemon I expect to see. I think there is realistic situations in which they're going to be bringing Ogerpon Wellspring every single game to click follow me to stop me from going for beat up shenanigans. Bringing Roaring Moon every game because it has such a good matchup into most of my team, especially with that booster speed potential. Chi Yu could be Scarf, Sashed, Specs, Clover Cloaked, all the like. Chiyu's definitely going to be coming in this game because it's so good against most of my mons. I think Indity Mail is also good against my team. Psy Spam's great into Terrakion. It's good into Zoroark. It can get things like Dazzling Gleam and be commonly Choice Scarf to deal with like Weavile. So it's going to be a very, very good mon. Hopefully we disincentivize it with like Weavile and Spirit Tomb, but you never really know. And then again, Entity, Mail, and Gallade are very, very good mons. I think the Gallade, if they don't bring Gallade, I think we have a cruise control, easy peasy line. We don't have to worry about the wide guard, don't have to worry about a secondary Trick Room setter, don't have to worry about that like fighting type mon that really disincentivizes our rock slides. So it'd be great if they didn't bring Gallade, and I think in the last slot, there's a good chance of one of these mons coming. They've used each of these mons before. I think Corviknight is probably the most realistic choice for their last mon that they're going to be bringing to this matchup, being able to trade and stagger Tailwinds with me. My team doesn't have a great matchup into Corviknight. Like, Whimsicott's not good into it. Drago gets resisted. Jirachi gets resisted. Weavile gets pinned by Iron at head. Zoroark doesn't really do that much. It has Flamethrower that I might want to use Flamethrower on Zoroark. That might be good tech. But like Terakion's neutral. Yes, I have Magmortar, but you also have a Dash Bomb, which is one of your other options you can bring. If I were to pick one team in the whole league that was not mine that I would use, it would be this one. Like, don't you think that like her team's most like our playstyle?
Oh, hands down. Yeah, this thing has basically just as much tech as we have. Yeah.
I feel it's like just a slightly more standard version of our team. There's no like self-policy proc core on this team like we have with our Terrakion with beat up, but if there was, we'd have the same team. You know, they even have the one Dash Bun, like we have the one Gastrodon for a little bit of like, you know, coverage for like a bad matchup. And we both have one wide guard user. We both have, I think, like 2 Trick Room setters, right? You know, so it's right. Crazy. Oh, someone just dropped a follow. Someone dropped a follow on my Twitch channel while I'm recording this. I'm not even streaming it, but you guys can go check out the Twitch channel. There's a link in the description. That being said, I think all 3 of these are very viable. It'd be like Sash, Lecky. They've used both Body Press Corv, like Iron Defense Body Press Corv, which is one of the reasons why I want to bring Zoroark in this matchup, just to always outvalue that. And then the Dash Bun's there if they want to go like Lava Plume, Scarf, Chiyu. So that being said, we're going to be doing things a little bit different here. What I've already done is I've already went through and picked all the mons that I want to use, all of the items and everything like that. And me and Corey are just kind of walk through why I chose the moves that I did. We're going to build all the EV spreads for the team just to kind of cut a little bit of the fat out of these videos, because I've noticed in some of my videos, maybe you guys can let me know in the comments, do you guys like just picking the mons from scratch and completely like picking it apart? Or would you rather have something like this where we already have like a semi-built team where we put the fine tunings to it and then we take the second half of the video to kind of work on the lead optimizations and the flowcharts? Let me know in the comments and let's hop into it. Corey, what do you think? I think it's better to do it that way. Because you get a lot of the ums and the maybes and like the indecisiveness out if I take a little bit of work to do it beforehand.
Yeah, we've been pushing what, an hour and a half?
Yeah, these are getting long, and like honestly, like people don't like. For you guys that watch them, you guys are absolutely amazing, but like people don't. So like, let's just get right to it.
Video.
So let's start off with what I want to do with this team. I actually think that this is how I'm going to be playing Regidrago this week. This is going to be dual screens, Light Clay, Regidrago with Dragon Cheer. These are all moves that people would never... I'm not even using Dragon Energy, right? Because we're building a very bulky Regidrago. We're going to be relying mostly on our Nature and potentially Dragon's Maw to be able to make our moves, our Dragon Pulse that's probably not going to have that many points invested in it, do a decent amount of damage, but we're going to be heavily mitigating damage and using Dragon Cheer to give a crit ratio to our teammates. And note that you can still give a +1 crit ratio to a teammate that's not a Dragon. I don't know if you guys knew that. I can use this next to Jirachi and give it just a +1 crit chance. And crit chances are weird. Do you know how crit chances work, Corey?
I am not super familiar with mechanics of crit chances. I was actually going to ask if Serene Grace boosted crit chance too as well with Dragon Cheer.
It shouldn't, because it's boosting only the effect of the moves. So moves with secondary effects chance. Sense. But that being said, crit chances are a little bit weird. So crits can go up to 3 stages. So realistically, to get 100% crit, you only need to have 3 stages. So we're going to talk about how we get those 3 stages. But a +1 crit chance is going to be a 33% extra like chance to crit. 2% crit is actually, you'd think that that's like, okay, well, 1's 33, 2 is 66. It's like, no, 2 is actually 50% chance. So that's weird, but that's how it is. And you would say, okay, well then 3, what is that, like 75? No, 3's 100 for some reason. So it's kind of weird how that works out. But that being said, if we were to pair this Dragon Cheer on a Pokemon that could Terastallize Dragon like our Terrakion, and then give Terrakion a Scope Lens that increases its critical hit ratio by 1 stage, that's a +3 percent chance to crit. So that makes all of Trachion's moves guaranteed auto crit, which means we don't need the Swords Dance. We don't need the beat ups. Trachion's just going to come in and clean house with critical hits. So I'm going to try and make this work. And I think it's going to be really cool. I think this is a fun way to use Trachion. I want to show you guys that I'm more than just side beat up Trachion one trick. Yes, we still have the side beat up, but this is a pretty cool team. Hopefully it works. And I think that we're going to have the bulk to get this off, because Regidrago, if you were to look at this stat line, you would not tell people that this is a Choice Scarf Sweepermon, right? You're like, that's not a Choice Scarf Sweepermon, that's a Blissey, right? Basically. So if we max out these bulk stats on Drago and just, because everyone likes to get Drago off the board too. And one really cool thing about Drago into Sierra's team is they don't really have that many good ways to beat it. They're not packing that many fairy moves, right? Maybe a Dazzling Gloom on Not Stepped Entity. Dashma doesn't really carry fairy moves. And there's no ice moves, right? So we take like neutral or resisted damage into most things. So it's actually like a really good wall on this team. So we should be able to get up dual screens pretty easily. Go for those Dragon Cheers. I wish we got like Recover. That'd be so sick. But like, I think this is going to be really good with this Regidrago. It's going to demand a lot of respect. People are going to be nuking it every single turn. People like to ignore it once it gets past like a certain threshold. And like, we're going to be relying most on the Dragon's Maw to make ourselves do like decent damage throughout most of the game. So we also hit most of their mons for neutral with Dragon Pulse. I think it's a really, really good set. That being said, we're going to take a look at the Trachion here. Like we were talking about, you have to have that Dragon Terra to get the boost from the Dragon Cheer to make it a +3 combined with our Scope Lens. If we're not Terrestrialize, we combine our Scope Lens with the +1 boost from the Dragon Cheer, and it's just a +2, which means we have a 50% chance to crit, and that's fine. I think I'm going to go with Sacred Sword over Rock Slide, just in case Sierra wants to go with like Iron Defense on like Corviknight, or like, goodness forbid, like Dashbun gets like really, really set up from Well-Baked Body, right? I don't want the close combats here. I want to be able to have like the bulky value. So that being said, I think that's why we're going to be choosing those options here. Taking a look at the Jirachi, the next mon that I think is really important to look at for this core, I really like this set. So if you were to take a look at, like, we have screens, we have damage mitigation, we got a little bit of restoration with Life Dew, we have Trick Room. So now you're starting to see where the team comes together. You could say you could probably just go Tailwind, Terrakion, just mess her up with all your fast mons, Scarf Regidrago, but realistically, her Tailwind options are better than mine. Yes, she doesn't have like dynamic speed control, but she has Roaring Moon boosted Tailwind potential, Regieleki E-Webs. I don't want to deal with that. I'm actually going to let her have speed control and then just be like, yo, we're setting up screens playing Trick Room. My Jirachi's going to flinch out of the game. I'm going to Encore if you drop the Protect. Like, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. This is going to be one of those room service Jirachis that can work inside of Trick Room, outside of Trick Room, inside of Tailwind. You can do a little bit of everything. And I really like the Encore tech on here, being able to catch people in like the wrong move. They want to go for Body Press Corv or like Iron Defense Corv, or like Tailwind or Roost. You can catch them. If they want to set up like a Swords Dance or a Dragon Dance, you can catch them with the Encore. Really, really cool stuff. Ironhead always here to flinch in case we have the speed control, so I think it's very, very solid. We're also rocking Fire Terror here because it's just good against most of our mons. It's good against what is it? It's good against Chi-Yu. It's good against a lot of different stuff. And if we gain a weakness to water, we can pivot into our Gastrodon, which is our next mon here. We're rocking the Dark Terra Gastrodon just to have a better matchup into Psy Spam. And I don't want to get... There's one other thing I wanted to play around with Dark Terra Gastrodon. What was it? I think it was eating the knockoff from the Roaring Moon. Yeah, it's fair. And like a Dark Pulse from a Chi-Yu. That being said, I want to go with like a bulky like yawn set. I want to get them to like pivot around. The more that they're pivoting, the more that I can weave in these Life Dews, these Dragon Cheers, Swords Dances, all these other things like that. If I catch you in a yawn cycle and you have to pivot, I get a free turn. That's a +1 free turn. That's one of the things where the name comes from. And I think we have a good shot here. We're also rocking Protect on a lot of our mons here. So I think we have a lot of good solid options. Whimsicott's going to be built just absolutely standard. Nothing too spectacular to write home about this Whims. I'm on the fence about not running Encore because they have Indity, but at the same time, if they don't bring the Indity and we trade Tailwinds and they just want to leave that mon in, I can just Encore their Tailwind again, and now they're stuck, right? So I gotta keep them honest with stuff like that. And then the last mon, I think I'm going to be running just a relatively standard Zoroark here. It's going to be... I might want to put Flamethrower on it over one of my moves, but I do think that the Zoroark here just has all the damage, and a lot of their mons, I don't think they have a ghost type, right? There's no ghost. Yeah, so like I can just come in with Zoroark and be like, boom, you're done, and make him take a lot of damage. Maybe the Chi-Yu will actually help us out, right? That'd be kind of nice.
That'll be nice, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we have...
Switching to Chi-Yu.
Yeah, if they swap in Chi-Yu, just melts everything, right? So yeah, I think this is gonna be pretty good. That being said, I think I might cut the Focus Blast for Flamethrower. Right? I was thinking about having Focus Blast for like Roaring Moon or Chi-Yu, but at the same time, like I'm good.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, I think Hyper Voice is probably enough for those two.
All right, give me 1 second here. I'm gonna mess with my webcam for like 2 seconds because I think it's being weird. This is a reminder, even though you can hear my voice but can't see me, to drop a sub on the channel if you guys like this content, want to see more. And we'll be back right here. Perfect. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's get back into what we're doing here. So we got to build our EVs, right? So I'm trying to think, what spreads do we need to outvalue? Like if we were to go here, honestly, Regieleki's worth outspeeding. Let's take a look at Roaring Moon. Like, I would not be surprised if she wanted to drop, like, a full speed, like, super angry Roaring Moon, right?
Yeah, like, Angry Roaring Moon Acrobatics just kind of
Yeah.
deletes everything except for Jirachi. But then he's knock off.
So 282 is what Roaring Moon gets to. Remember, I think Regieleki is 277.
I believe so.
So by outspeeding Booster Roaring Moon, we would also by proxy outspeed Regieleki. I could be wrong. We're going to take a look at this. 252 if they're modest. 277. Awesome. My calcs are still on point. So that being said, we need to outspeed 282 in Tailwind. So Terrakion's right here. I thought about putting like EQ on Terrakion. I don't think I need to do that. If we were to double Terrakion speed into Tailwind, we're not there yet. We have to put some points in speed. And honestly, like, I don't mind putting a lot of my points. I don't mind not putting that many points in speed because, like, I want to play Trick Room. But at the same time, what do you think about... Because, like, it looks like we only do 108 to outspeed and Tailwind. But that being said, should we be putting a lot more speed to outspeed things like Indeedee and Chi-Yu? I think yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she'll just roll us. If we're not speeding Indeedee, we're cooked, right? Am I wrong?
Oh, no, that just...
You're right.
Especially if we don't bring Weavile, like, yeah, that'll just delete everything.
So we gotta outspeed Chi-Yu. And Chi-Yu is a base 100. So that's gonna look like... Base 100. So I gotta get to 168 on Terrakion. All right. Terrakion. And so we need to still be Jolly, which is unfortunate, but it's okay. All right. So Chi-Yu is right there, 196. I think that's fine, right?
I think that's okay. Terrakion's bulky enough.
We'll come back. Regidrago. What about Regidrago's speed? Does Regidrago need to outspeed things at all?
I don't think so. I don't think it's worth the investment with an only 80 speed stat when you're talking things about like Regieleki Roaring Moon. I don't think we're getting up a screen before they do something.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I'll say Corviknight, but like
I'm looking around. Set these here. Give me 1 sec. Roaring Moon. So 252. Jolly. They're gonna go special Roaring Moon. So it's like 282. Like, honestly, we could catch it, I think, if we were like full speed timid, you know?
Yeah.
Not worth, you know?
No. I think we just protect and drop a screen. I think the only dangerous thing would like if they outrage the Regidrago, but
I wonder, like,
I'd have to get a little...
What if we went like, it might be worth noting to be like that 132 Okos, but do we even want those points in there? I don't think we do.
We're gonna have to... No. I don't think we need the Oko on it.
I don't think so either. You're right. Yeah, and so like the fact that we don't need like anything, you know. So 80 is probably
I think I'd
fine.
be able to get up those screens than worry about one-shotting
I guess
a
where should we be putting most of our points? All right, so it's physical, 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 Yeah, let's actually go back to this one. So it's physical, physical, physical. It's 3 and 3. So like, which one's more of a threat?
I think the physical, just because of Roaring Moon.
Okay.
Um,
So Roaring
and
Moon, she's ran Breaking Swipe on it before. So that would look something like Breaking Swipe does half to like a Drago. And like even if we were to like 252 club it up, maybe what we would want here is that 124 makes that a 3-shot off the Breaking Swipe.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. The only reason she might not be running Swipe is because we do like Covert Cloak Terrakion, and I feel like that's...
I wonder if she knows that, but yeah, you're right. So knockoff also as well. Let's make that knockoff. Well, knockoff wouldn't be a 3-shot anyways because yeah, I'd lose my item.
Yeah.
Let's just see what Dragon Claw looks like. Yeah, I'm not even dead off that Dragon Claw with 124.
Oh
yeah. What if she was like adamant? Or what if she was jolly? Right? Let's go back to that. At +1, but we had a reflect up. They're still alive, right? So I think 124 is a good number right there.
Good.
Is there any speed that we need at all on this thing? Glade and Regidrago speed tie.
I don't know. I think
I'm down to put 12 points in speed to make sure that I speed
yeah,
creep Regidrago. Or sorry, Glade a little bit. And if Trick Room goes up, I don't care, you know? Because she's gonna have speed, right?
Yeah.
So that's fine.
I would think so.
And then, like, honestly, the way you EV train these mons is you don't put any points in HP realistically, right? And then you just like, if we're really worried about that, though, we should just be like, what if I just did that? And then
I hate that.
What's the issue with like? I'm not even kidding. Like, what is the problem with something like that?
Absolutely nothing. I think with those multipliers, with Dragon Cheer, Dragon's Maw, all that kind of stuff.
We don't need to do damage.
Yeah, I think Pulse is still going to like 3-shot things at worst.
Oh yeah, that's the point. We just want to sit on our screens because once we get the screen up, we just sit. You know, we probably take about 40% from most moves, but like life do is double value. You know. Okay. All right, let's think about Jirachi then. What does Jirachi need to outspeed? In Tailwind. Maybe Scarf Chiyu?
Scarf Chiyu would be nice.
Okay. Jirachi. So Scarf Chiyu is right there. That's modest. Let's make him timid just in case. That seems too fast. That's right. 250, right? Cool. All right. 250. So we actually only need to get like 60 points, maybe? Not even. 44. That's fine, right?
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
That way we're still viable. We can still flinch out the Chiyu. And then from there, we probably just want full here. I don't think we need to put any points in attack. We probably throw an extra 4 in there. And then again, like this thing's more afraid of, we're going to flip our Terra there, but like knock off, Ivy Cudgel. I'm more afraid of physical, right? Aren't you?
Yep.
Because we're going to rely on our Terra here to eat the special moves. So like, that's what I'm looking at right here. But at the same time, there might be a situation in which like, into D, I resist, so I don't have to care. Maybe let's run some Regieleki calcs, right? We're also, I want to say, I'm pretty sloppily not calcing for like Beats of Ruin crap with like teammates, so I got to remember to do that. So Regieleki against Jirachi. Let's just plug in like a 252 Thunderbolt, right? And we're just looking. So we have Transistor. So we're going to do Transistor plus Life Orb, and that will be Beads of Ruin Transistor combo, right? That's basically the same calc.
Yeah, I believe so.
So that does half if they're just timid. And so we have 204 here extra to do with. We're going to put that in defense. But like, I guess what I'm trying to say is we might want to make... I want to see if there's like any way that like we die to this sort of stuff. So we're not even dead if we just go like max. That seems incorrect. That seems too low of a roll, right?
What if you did Magnet with Beads of Ruin?
Okay.
Because I feel like that's the. I mean, I guess Life Orb.
That's probably the real
thing,
calc. Yeah, it's a little bit more damage. You're right. Okay. Okay. So then, let's see. So that's like the biggest amount of damage they can do. We're super dead if they Helping Hand on top of that. But if they don't Terra, see, we're still alive there too. So like we don't need to care, right?
Yep.
I feel like there's some situation though where we don't want to get doubled up on by a special attack. That like I feel like there's a let's just go back to just straight Chiyu then, because like it looks like Regieleki doesn't care. Jirachi doesn't care. So Chiyu, let's just plug it in for Scarf, and we'll tech versus Modest Scarf. I think that's fair. So we have Fire as an option here. So all these moves just like melt the crap out of us. Why is that doing so much? Why is that doing so much? That shouldn't do that much, right? Am I like wrong? So set to level 50.
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't 200% Oko us from our full
Helping Hand.
Helping Hand.
Jirachi. Oh, Helping Hand.
Yeah, there we go. That's more realistic, right?
Yeah.
So like, I was like, what is that?
Chiyu's crazy.
And that's Modest Chiyu, right? So like, you can put 180 points in there and not die. But at the same time, if I flip on Fire Terra, I just don't care. Let's do the timid calcs. Actually, let's go back to the modest calcs. Screen. Yeah, let's go back to the modest calcs, and then let's also add choice specs. Where is the choice specs? I'm just gonna type it. All right, so we're still, you don't do anything, and we still live that, right? Unless they wanted to be an absolute Chad gamer, and like, I think I need to live that.
Yeah.
164. That's a lot of points. I don't know if I want to do that. What is the number that we have to get to there? It is 141. That seems fine, but I don't think I need to do all that. Am I wrong?
It seems like... No, I don't think we need that much.
There, 68. Put the rest in defense.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like the exact opposite of the calc, but that's just it for timid, right? Timid, like Dark Pulse, like specs, you know, we live that. Cool, rad, right? I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Terrakion, we got the speed. I don't know if I want to put like a lot of points in attack this time. Let's run a couple calcs versus beat up into Roaring Moon. You know, I've noticed a lot when I'm playing in the SPL that like sometimes I'll get the beat up off, and I'll get the +4, but then I won't get the KO, and it'll be like, you know.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got going on over here.
I wonder if they're being super professional and calcing the +4 beat up calcs against their mons.
Viz did. His mons lived like every single time because his strat was actually to like Thunderwave one of my mons to give me only +3.
Oh,
yeah. So I was just like, oh man, that was good tech. So we're gonna calc +4, make the doubles, right? So I think I don't expect her to put a lot in bulk, but I also don't want to put a lot in attack, and it looks like
you know a lot to get a KO.
That's fine, right? I'm okay with that. 100, just like 180, like I'm okay with that. That guarantees it versus most sets. Okay. 180.
So 132, but in bulk.
36. Yeah, and so like, where do we want to put that in bulk? Terrakion is weaker against special, so it's weak here. It's good there. It's bad here. It's neutral there. It's neutral there. I mean, there's not a problem with putting it in like HP, like just straight up like a 4. I don't think there's an issue with that because they're so split. They're so evenly split.
Yeah.
And then if I gain a dragon typing, I mean, I have a weakness to Dragon Claw. So let's run that calc. Let's run like Dragon Terra Terrakion versus like Breaking Swiper Dragon Claw or something, right?
Yep.
Breaking Swipe and Dragon Claw. All right, 113. They get the KO on the defense, so it's 124. I have 132 points to mess with. All right, so we can definitely find a way to live that Dragon Claw.
Yeah.
So right now we have this. So if we go 1, 2, 1, 2. Going. There it is.
A little bit more. Yep.
Yeah, so 44. 44, 84, is that it? I think that should do it. Yep, awesome. Perfect. Works for me, right? I don't think there's a problem there.
Nope.
Awesome. And then Gastro. Gastro's one of those mons that I don't think like Tailwind Gastro's ever going to come into play as my savior. So I might as well make it slow. What was that?
So you might outspeed a Corviknight in Tailwind.
I don't think it's worth it though.
No.
I'd rather just underspeed to make sure they can't like go like min speed Gallade or something, or min speed Dashbun, or like Donphan's like 50 base speed, right? So I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go 0. I'm just gonna go 0. It's like slow, might as well, right?
Yep.
And then Gastro doesn't need to have like a ton in HP. Let's optimize these leftovers. I always have to pull like an actual calculator for this, because you divide it by 16 to find the correct number. I think most people just know what it is for Gastro, but I always forget. So 218 divided by 16 is not there. It's a little bit in the middle. It's probably gonna be like 204. It's probably like 212 or 210. 212, maybe it's 208. It is 208, right? Because that's one higher than Rillaboom.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. So that's the optimal health for Gastrodon to optimize leftovers recovery. And then from there, again, like where are we really looking to mitigate damage? Maybe let's check a couple Earth Power offensive calcs. Make sure Earth Power can 2-shot there. Maybe
pop it to you.
Maybe see like how much it does versus Lecky. And remember, I used Gastrodon last week, so I wonder if they're going to be expecting like a specific type of, like we used like Life Orb, like Angry Gastrodon last week, so they might not be respectful of it as like a wall. So that just kills against like Regieleki, like straight up, no investment. Right? So that's good. So against Chiyu, make this level 50. It doesn't get the KO, but if we have a +1 from, so we might want to make that KO from like a, let's like a previous, that's fine. I'm down to put 60 points, right?
Yep, that's worth it.
And then from there, we're more weak on, I think, the physical side, because like on the special side, we already blocked Chiyu, right?
Yep.
And we have Dark Terror for Indity and Chiyu, right? We flip on that dark typing. So we're just afraid of physical. So like, I don't think there's a single problem with like 252 and then just like 20. And then the last 4 are just extra, right? They would have gone in speed, but I don't want it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Whimsicott. Got to put my nature on this Gastrodon. Whoopsie-daisy. Perfect.
Might make a difference.
Might make a little bit of a difference. And then this Whimsicott. All right, so we don't need to outspeed everything, but we are sashed. So like, I don't see a problem with going full speed. That being said, we need to always be outspeeding Ogerpon, which is 110. I don't see an issue with going full speed to like mess with some sort of weird calcs. We'd have to outspeed. Where's Ogerpon? Let's just play it correctly. Wellspring, doesn't really matter which one we're looking at here. Wellspring. Not that they would ever go full speed Ogre Pond, right? You gotta keep them honest, right? So we gotta get to 179 on the whims. And so you just go right there, and then you go to take out your attack points to make the beat ups do less, and then from there, I don't mind going like full 252. I actually think we could get away with D-Gleam here, but I don't mind Moonblast.
Yeah, I don't.
It's hard to say, right? I like the Moonblast because it can check the Roaring Moon.
Yeah, if they don't have Ogre Pond on the field, Moonblast is free, but
I'm gonna go with the Dazzling Gleam. Break sashes, sturdy. You know what I mean? If you got Wide Guard, you go Wide Guard. You know, I Encore it and then I use Tracheon to do something else.
Yep.
Anyways, the last 4 are always just like, you know, just right there. I think that's fine, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. And then the Zoroark, because we speed tie Ogre Pond, we're just gonna be full speed, right?
Send it.
Yep, cool. Just want to make sure. Oh yeah, Drathi's a mythical. All right, so that's the team. We got to start flowcharting some of these lines. All right, let's get ready for this. This is the fun part. So we got Whims Zoroark. And then our third Mon can be like right, that's 1, right? Whims Zoroark disguised as Drago, and then either Whims or the Jirachi, Gastron, or Terrakion, right? I think that's a pretty good line for like that sort of game. Seems fair, right? That's the idea. Okay, so that's just an idea that forces Terras. So this one, we'll play number 1. Force Terra. All right. And the second one, I want to talk about like a Whims Terrakion line. So Whims Terrakion. That one looks like, let's just call this one beat up. So if Whims Terrakion, and what would the closers be for Whims Terrakion? What are the things that we need to pivot to? Like what would give us the biggest issues if we're going for Whims Terrakion? That would be something that Ogre Pond's going to. We need to bring Gastro, right?
Yeah, Gastro's really good in the back there.
And then we have to also bring in something that Whims Terrakion. We have to bring Gastro, but if they read that and go for like a Horn Leech or something, maybe we don't bring Gastro, we have to flip on Terra. So in this one, we have to right?
Yeah.
So it's better than, because if you pivot out for one of these for like Gastro and they, you know, Horn Leech, you just lose the game, right?
Yep.
So if anything, you could pivot out Whimsicott in that situation. But like, I don't know if they make that read. Anyways, with those two, right? And then I need other mons that can help me close in the back for like a Tailwind aggro board. I think Jirachi's good there. And then did we have that's a Zoroark Jirachi. Right, Zoroark disguised as Jirachi. So Zoroark comes in, they're like, yo, that's fine, yeah. I know that thing's a wall, and then it would force them to not be protecting because we have Encore and Jirachi that we already showed in game 1, right?
Right.
And then we just punish, right? Okay.
Yep.
3. Let's take a look at screens. So that one is actually Whims Drago. And then I think for our third Mon, we would want Jirachi. And then I think Terrakion's our best last Mon there. Because
I think so.
We get everything set up for Terrakion, and then like if you preserve your Whim still too, you can come in with the Terrakion and then get like one beat up for like 2 or 3 mid game, and you just win. Or that Swords Dance. Or Whims is weak against fire. You pivot in the Terrakion, block the Chi-Yu, Drago sets up a screen, and then you outvalue the Chi-Yu with Terrakion, right?
Yep.
Cool. Was there any other like big lines that we really need to take a look at? What else could we disguise Zoroark as early? What if we went into a matchup where fake beat up. There's two versions of this. One where you disguise as the Wims, or you disguise as the Terrakion. It's honestly better to go Wims Zorark than it is to go Wims Terrakion, because like if their team has so much speed control. So that would be
Right.
Wims Zorark Terrakion. And then you'd have Terrakion in the last spot. So what's the third Mon there? It wouldn't be Regidrago here. There's too much aggro. It might be something like Gastro. It could be Jirachi, but I feel like we're racing to the finish there a little bit too fast. I think it has to be. I think it has to be Gastro, but I don't want it to be. You know, because we're gonna be. It's a trade team.
Yeah.
It has to be. No, it has to be Jirachi. It has to be Jirachi, right? Because Jirachi can still capitalize on the fact that like Zork's gonna go down on the first turn, and then you come in with the Jirachi or the Terrakion. And Jirachi's a better closer. Even if I have to come with Terrakion and then fodder my Wims, I can come with the Jirachi, protect with Terrakion, trick room with the Jirachi, and flip it, right?
Yep. Gives you more options in the back.
It's just like I did versus Viz, right?
Yep.
So what other options do we have? Are there any leads that like we would ever lead Gastrodon? What about a board where like we led Zorark disguised as Gastrodon? Is there ever any value to that?
Possibly. If she seemed to want to lead a lot slower, which is really hard for her to do with this team, I think a lot of her stuff just outvalues like speed-wise, like Hisui and Zorark, and I think they just kind of Oko it.
Okay, so my idea is basically if I'm going to be playing fast, set the Tailwind, trade for like a 1-for-1 or do chunk two things for half, bring out something else, encore their Tailwind setter into Tailwind again, or just punish them and just try and win out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing the lines. Yeah, I think we have some good lines here. I think we have some good options. That being said, we wrapped this one up a lot faster than we have wrapped up all the other ones, so it's been good prepping. Guys, be sure to go check out Standard VR's channel. There's gonna be a link to it in the description. He has 30 subscribers right now, and I expect to see at least 31 by the time I watch their next video every single morning at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 a.m. 6 a.m., 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Eastern Standard Time. Holy moly. I think we have a good matchup this week. Like I was saying before, if I win one more match, I get locked in for playoffs. I'm pretty sure we're 4-1 right now. We're 4-1. We've been on a pretty big win streak, and we have a pretty good diff. So, you know, even if like other people end up with the same record as us, we should be able to just have a really, really good like win percentage. Basically, a lot of our games are sweeps because Terrakion's busted, and Terrakion is still the numero uno kill leader for the league. If I was Sierra, I would be doing my absolute best to not pad Terrakion's numbers, right? So I think that's why they're going to go with the Ogre Pawn, right? That would be, I think they're going to be going like Ogre Pawn and things that pin Terrakion. I got to watch out for Psychic Chiyu as well, but like I think we're fine.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
Cool. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys are excited for this game. This game will be going up tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully I win, and hopefully you guys have a good time watching all the amazing SPL content. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Peace out, and we'll see you guys next time.